Johnny, thanks so much for being here today. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Listen, dude, so we're both in revenue operations. I ask everybody, how do you today explain to your mom or your significant others what you do for a living?
My gosh, that's funny because we're just moving into a new house. My dad's in town, and they
Yeah.
hear me from the other room and they go, I have no idea what this guy is saying at
Yeah,
all.
I hate this question and I hate answering it every
Yeah,
time.
well, it's funny you asked that. So, um, I look at it like we help people set up systems, process, and
Mm,
reporting all around your revenue infrastructure. So you need a sales system, you need a marketing system. We help organize and standardize all that together.
yeah. So I try that. I try that approach all the time and then I always lead with the number. Like I feel like it doesn't click. I'll say like, okay, this company makes $120 million a year, like a mid-market company.
Yep.
Like who's supporting the stuff that they do that?
Totally.
That still doesn't like hit home for people. They'll look at me and be like, "Oh, okay, so you do logistics, right?" I'm like, "What is that? What does that even mean, logistics?
Yeah, we're not moving.
What is Go ahead.
No, we're not moving freight here, you know?
Yeah.
Human
What is the market what is the market that you normally support right now?
uh, B2B SaaS, C2B. But that's where my background is. That's where like I've started a host of different companies, and that's in that world. I've led revenue teams across that world. I have more recently gotten into the obscure and ugly
Mm,
businesses that I've found a lot of joy with. But I would say B2B SaaS
yeah.
is the core. But more recently, we've just gotten into some obscure businesses like pest control, carport businesses, all sorts of these kind of like legacy industries that we've
They're
gotten.
so good, dude.
Yeah, it's great.
You know what's funny is I think B2B SaaS just understands the value of the subscription.
Yep.
So it's like an easy go to market.
Mhm.
But just yesterday I was with a sign manufacturer and they're like 6 million and he's trying to automate the whole business with intercom. And I was like, dude, sign me up. Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
I think there's with the tools that are out there today, I think there's like ripe opportunity to get in some of these real money makers and do revolutionary stuff that they haven't seen done in like 30, 40 years. And everyone's sleeping on it because everyone wants their next $2 million SaaS company that they run with two people.
yeah,
Um, so actually, I do want to jump into this so people understand how you hit the market. So tell us real quick what you do. You own a company, and I don't want to answer it for you, but you are a consultant and you help other businesses with their revenue operations. But what is that, and what's the pitch to them, or what's the value proposition when you're trying to explain why they should pay people like me a lot of money to like maintain their operations?
sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people, you're building a business, there's a lot of back of the napkin math that
Yeah,
happens. And there's a lot of like this mental math that you get into that's so exciting. Well, if we do this and we do this and we do this, then all of a sudden we sell our company. And it's like the reality is you're managing, there's a lot of logistics, and it's trying to figure out what you should focus on and what's the important data. And it's almost like, the age old adage, like it's almost more about what do you not do is more helpful to
yeah,
know than what do you do, because there's a million things that you can be doing at any point in time. And so when I go in and I
for
talk
sure.
to people, I say, hey, look, I've led revenue teams for 15 years. I've built go to market strategies for a variety of accounts. What we do
Mm,
is not just get into figuring out how to connect node A to node B, because that's not really
mm,
helpful. We help you think about what's the best practice system, technology, reporting, process that you should deploy to
mm,
run a best in class go to market infrastructure. So it's almost equal parts connecting the wires, which obviously you have to be good at and you have to do that well, but it's also recommending the best
mm,
practices and the way that you should think about these things, because that varies depending on the size, depending on the org, depending on the vertical, all
yeah.
those sort of things. And so tailoring and tying all of that together is highly impactful, and it ends up being how you run your organization.
Yeah, I don't wanna bucket you too tightly, but, like, if you said you were in a revenue range in companies, what are they? Are they, like, in a Series A, or are they, like, mid-market that's 20 to 40 million? Like where do you see your
Yeah,
target?
5 to 100 is generally kind of where we tend to skew.
Yeah. So I've got friction, and I want to lead into, we were just talking about like the difference between revenue operations being an enablement arm,
Yeah.
and your take on it is that like revenue operations actually makes you money. So
Yeah.
the friction that I got when I stepped into a portfolio company,
Mm.
and they were probably 100, they were 120 million annual recurring contract value. So the PE company put me in there, and they're like, you guys need sales operations, like we want to sell you to the next one. I spent an inordinate amount of time looking at skeptical finance analysts, like
Mhm.
trying to explain to them why they're paying me so much money. And just to qualify, it's like most of your ops guys out there are like mid six figures. You know, they're like 150 to 220. The days of like 60K a year for an analyst doesn't work there anymore. So that's a hard pitch. Like I appreciated that the PE guys got it. The CEO was definitely in love, but like, what is the case that you make if you're talking to this company and they're making five million's tight, right? Like I have personal friends that own $5 to $6 million businesses. They're not even paying themselves a lot of money. So like, what's the case you make to them that this is the investment you're making on someone that's on an operational side? It's going to make you more money in return.
Yeah, I'll start kind of high level on that. So look at exit multiples. And
Yeah.
you look at like how when you sell a business. Someone told me
Hmm.
this recently, and I thought it was brilliant. If you look at a business that is running on a consistent cadence and you have consistent metrics that are consistently growing, that business will sell at a different multiple than a business that goes like this over and over and over
That's
again,
so good.
right? And
100%.
so if you can frame it in that, then the founder starts thinking about exit multiples, and everyone becomes mutually aligned. Similar, another analogy is like look at the look at the S&P, right? If you put your money in the
Yeah.
S&P and you try and buy when the business is going great, but then when things are going down and you try and pull out and you try and
Mm,
trying to get all creative and timing the market, like you're going to lose money in the long run because no one can time the market. Similarly, if you look at a
mm,
business that's going down and you say, "Ooh, this is a cost center in our business. We need to cut this." The reality is that cost center that a lot of people view is the thing that's going to help you identify where the challenges are, identify where the optimization is, and help right the ship. So if you don't ride
yeah.
with it through the down and through the dip, then you're not going to see the benefit on the upside. And when people look at it like, oh, I'll just have this ops person do this because it's super simple to
Yeah.
do, those are the companies that we come in and we have to completely overhaul their infrastructure because they try
100%.
solutions over and over again.
This same fine, and look, I have respect for him, but like he'd look at me, and they had 2,000 accounts in their database, and then only 200 of them were paying them money. And like when you looked at a list of them in alphabetical order, like it wasn't rocket science. It was like, this is Acme, comma Ltd. This one's Acme Ltd. This one's Acme LDT. Someone misspelled it. I'm like, those aren't, dude, those are the same company. Those are dupes, you know? Like, oh, what do you mean? But it's this and that. So what do you, so then how do you, like if I'm a snarky analyst guy and I'm like, what are you just making me a dashboard? Like, can I do that in data rails? Like what's
Yeah,
your objection handling on that?
the funny question. Dashboard is square as zero, right? Building a
Yeah.
dashboard isn't that challenging. Building a dashboard with reliable data and a consistent model is significantly harder. But what's really hard is building a dashboard, taking that, comparing that against benchmarks, and then identifying which is the
Mm.
thing that matters most, and then reverse engineering based on the gap, right? So maybe your
Yeah.
QL to SQL conversion ratio is 3% when we wanted to have it at, in your business, 30 to 40%. And
Mm.
you identify the gap and then you identify the things that you can do. So typically, let's use a super practical example here. MQL to SQL conversion ratio, like we just talked about. Marketing is generating a ton of leads and those leads are not becoming qualified, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then you need to let's look at that in an actual practical use case. People are coming into the website, they're submitting the form, but they're not qualified based on your sales qualification framework.
Yeah.
Why is
Yeah.
so now you need to start to understand and diagnose the disqualification reasons. Where are they coming
Mm.
from? when they're coming in, what is the conversion process? Maybe it's
Mm,
up funnel targeting. Maybe it's that you have a speed to lead issue with your reps. Maybe it's that uh, you identify that people who are coming organic to the website are converting at a 40% rate, but your
mhm,
ad partner that you're working with is focusing on form fills and not focusing on down funnel messages.
100%.
They're just shipping stuff into the business. So that right there, once you can see the data, then you can dig into the data and figure out the challenge and then figure out the optimization. And the ironic
Yeah.
part that you flagged earlier is like people are so obsessed and focused on just getting the dashboard up and but they're not focusing on, hey, we're spending $100,000 a month on ads. How do we optimize that? Or they're not
Yes.
focusing on, we're spending X amount of dollars on your HubSpot or your Salesforce install. How do we optimize that?
Mhm.
It's just the ironic element of the whole thing.
Yeah, I just in case, so most of my audience is enterprise, mid-market. They understand what we're talking about, but like for you business owners out there that are like 5 million, 10 million, I've seen this where you hire a 75 to 100K a year marketer. This guy is not, I want to say sucks, but like this guy's just not, he's taking your job for 60K because he couldn't hack it in any large organization where there was accountability. He's going to sell you on a bunch of expensive stuff. And then he's going to like throw all these clicks in front of you and be like, look, oh, this is their dwell time on the website. And look how many people filled out the form. And so what you said, Johnny, cracks me up because a lot of people forget this, even in marketing operations, like the handoff between marketing justified their existence by producing these 100,000 leads, a marketing qualified lead, to like a real salesperson that has to go out in the field and says 80% of those are garbage. You know, like that's a real tension that a lot of people don't solve for. And for some reason, these business owners think, oh, I need the first thing that they do is hire one of these marketers, and then they like create more problems for themselves down the road. So do you see them like when do you see them reaching out to you? Here's a specific question on that. How do you make them problem aware and like marketing speak? Because some of these guys don't even realize what the actual problem is.
That's a great question. Because a lot of people, to your point, don't really get it. And they don't
Yeah.
understand what a good process looks like. So for a while, like thinking about it practically with outreach and growing our business. For a while, it was like, "Hey, check us out. I've got this unique background and this unique experience. Hey, we should work."
Mm,
But a lot of them are like, "My HubSpot's good," and then you get under the hood.
yeah.
So a lot of our business has come naturally through word of mouth and referrals because
Yeah.
it's people in thought leadership groups that identify, "Oh, I had this challenge where our data wasn't reliable." And then they start to collaborate, and then they start to talk about success stories. Those success stories kind of enable and help drive things, a little bit further, and that kind of also
For sure.
doubles into us building out more templates, more best practices, educating our prospective user base because not to your point, not everyone gets it. So it comes down to just like
Mm.
education and then peer network groups is kind of the things that have been working for us.
When you do get into an account or and you're cranking through or solving problems, who's the first person or stakeholder that's in love with what you're doing and maybe didn't expect it? And then like what's the usual first resistance that you get?
Another great question. So number one is like what we do that what we do that I think is slightly unique is I come in and I just go, "Hey, what's your hair on fire problem?" Every single
Yeah,
account
yeah.
hair on fire problem when you get in, and it's usually
Yeah.
not this massive thing. So I don't
Yeah.
wanna do the consultant, like, "Let me do a 6-week audit and come in and do blah, blah, blah." It's like, no, these
Yeah.
people are running a business, come in, solve
That's right.
you right away. So that person could be your head of sales, that person could be your head of marketing. I've got a company where it's like an account-based marketer, that's going
Mm,
and running an ABM strategy and is trying to make sense of a lot of data. So it can be kind of a variety of stakeholders. And then the person who is most commonly resisting is the person who thinks
mm.
they already know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? They're coming in and they're saying, "It's
Yeah.
exactly how we're gonna do it." And the reality is, like, the
Yeah.
people that I love working with come in like are humble, just like we try and be, where we always want to learn something and we always want to figure out a way to grow and we always want to be tinkering and trying new things. And so,
Yeah.
the person who is most resistant is usually the person who's kind of complacent in the GTM approach that they want to pick.
Yeah, it's, it's interesting because I'm just rolling off of a consulting gig for a really big AI company, and traditionally I would say that I'm an internal RevOps person, and I struggled with this, and I mentioned it candidly on another episode, so I'm not like slinging mud, but there's this big consultants world where they create a bunch of busyness and anxiety and artifacts, and it's like, this is what you paid me 60 grand for. Here's a bunch of noise. And when I look at some of these companies, I do this same thing. I do this in job interviews too. Like, what's the one thing you guys put this out there, not because someone said here's money for headcount, but like you've been hating one part of your process.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to hire away right now? Same thing when I jump on board with the CEO or CRO. Like, what sucks the most? Like, what can I take a stab at? And the people that I get resistance from are almost like these. It's like they're these wishy-washy. Oh, we need to do some lean Six Sigma black belt whatever. Let's just go do a what do you call that? Not a yeah. Let's go do a Kaizen on the board. Put a bunch of sticky notes on the board. I'm like, bro, what is the problem with you? Like, there's 100,000 things that actually have to literally get done right now, and someone's got to do the doing, or you just wasted a bunch of money on me, and like you're not making any more money.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that's a differentiator in your line of work as a consultant? Like, how do you explain to people? And maybe I'm going to put words in your mouth, but are you ever like, hey, dude, if you hired me for a slide deck, like you got the wrong guy? Like, how do you explain to them, I'm not doing slide decks for you. Like, we're actually going to build something real here.
Um, yeah, it's funny. I have people who hire me. It's fun, like who have hired me just to be like, oh, I want you on a call because I want to run GTM strategy by you. And I'm like, but that's
Yeah.
like not my job. And like, that's not like, yeah, I can do that. But like, if you don't understand the value of the broader team that we have and what they can provide,
Mm,
then you're kind of like
mm,
missing the point to a degree.
mm.
So like, yeah, I'll get people who just want to do the high level theoretical, but like in this line of work, the devil's in the details. And if you don't follow
100%.
everything all the way down to
That's it.
technical way that the workflow is built or the report shows data, then you kind of miss the whole purpose of
Yeah. And you're left with like a 20-page doc that nobody ever opens.
right.
It's
What are you
instead.
doing?
Um, that's super interesting because there a place for, I guess you would call that declarative work, where it's like, all right, here's big picture,
Hmm.
Mr. Mrs. CFO and CRO. But then, oh, by the way, there's a dozen other things. So like, how do you layer on the strategy then, as opposed to just get out of my way while I do a dozen things?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the reality is the requests that are being surfaced to you are requests from people that are in the day-to-day and in the trenches
Mm,
typically. And so like you want to make sure you're enabling those people. But then
mm,
typically like if you're just where I see a lot of people in my line of work running into issues is like if you're just relying on the team's requests that are happening, then
mm.
you're letting the internal team architect their
Yeah.
revenue and architect their entire infrastructure. And so by doing that, you run the risk of a non-architect architecting the whole thing, which means that you're going to have to flip the whole script. So
Yeah.
basically, I try and get a little solve in there and then take a broader approach on mapping out. Like we have an account. I just met with them earlier today. We're going through picking out their short little pick list, talking through what their stack should look like and some different items there. And then it's like, but you don't like I think we can step back and also like map out how does every single lead flow into the system? What are the different channels?
Mm,
What's the engagement path? What are your definitions for your different life cycle stages? How is your attribution model mapping things the right way? And I know I'm going a
mm.
little technical, but I think it like you can solve
That's good.
items, but then going high level is helpful to align everyone so that when you add something on, everyone's aligned as to what that means and how that flows in, what the data model looks like, and so forth.
Yeah, so in the going back to that problem aware concept, I see there's like three steps here. Maybe there's steps or not, but someone's like, "Oh, I just learned about revenue operations or sales operations. Our company needs that."
Mm.
And then they think, "Do I hire it or there's also this world of fractional or consultants or agencies and you're on the agency side.
Mm.
So if someone is now problem aware and they don't know whether they should hire internally or go get an agency resource, there's pros and cons on both. What's your pitch to say this is why the agency model makes sense? This is why you're going to love it more.
I have a whole guide on whether you should hire in-house or a third party that
Oh,
we can share out to the audience later. Um, but in my opinion, like the way that I think about it is uh, this is a very hard role to hire for in my eyes.
mm-hmm,
So if you
mm-hmm,
can get someone, then do it. But
yeah,
the finding someone who can do the job, you need to understand what is in the job. So
mm-hmm,
that's active listening and building out roadmap as step one. Then that's prioritization. Then that's technical
mm-hmm,
execution. Then that's QA.
mm-hmm,
Then that's documentation and enablement. Then that's training. If you have one person who can do six roles at that level, hire that person 10 times out of 10. The
yeah, for
reality
sure,
is, you're probably not going to be able to figure that out, which is why typically people will at least bring someone like us on, and then maybe we partner with a RevOps lead who's helping with the internal prioritization and stakeholder engagement.
yeah,
But that's how I typically look at it is like, what are all the jobs that need to be done in order to have a
mm.
successful function? And can you find someone who can match that?
Yeah. One thing I actually really loved about the consulting, especially in this last sort of, I guess they might call themselves a boutique shop, but they had 100 employees.
Mhm,
I was surrounded by some of the best developers I'd ever been surrounded by.
mhm,
And that's unique to me because even if you landed on a contract like 100,000 a year to do some sort of supplemental go-to-market systems engineering or RevOps capacity,
mhm.
you're still paying way under market rate for what it would take to hire one person, and you're bringing in this whole toolbox of resources. So it's not like Chad sitting there all the time. Sometimes he's going to bring the developer, and sometimes he's just talking to architects. Uh, so I do remember when I was running it in shop for the $120 million company, I started telling that CFO and the VP of sales about a year after I was there. I was like, look, you'd be better off. I call them MSPs, but you'd be better off with an agency. Like you could pay $2,000 a month and get everything you're getting from like me. Essentially, I'm overkill for what you got. Do you when you have so then that's another on the exit side, that's another interesting thought coming at this. Do you ever get into an account and then you're like, congratulations, you guys have graduated, you need to hire someone? Like do you look at exits on both sides?
Not deliberately. We'll support that. We
Yeah.
I'm 100% like I have no problem. I always my focus is doing what's in the best interest for the business, and like I try and be very business initiatives focused and business success focused in all the work that we do rather than like getting super nuanced in hours and minutes. It's like
Mm,
just focus on like getting them to where they need to go is kind of the mentality that we've always taken. But like typically how we've worked with accounts for 5 years on end, and usually the
that's
reason
awesome.
is because it starts with sales. "Hey, we're
Mm,
founder-led sales, we need to bring on a sales rep." Okay, cool. Then we need to scale out a couple sales reps. Alright, that makes sense. Okay,
mm,
now sales is humming. Now we need to focus on implementations, okay? Now you shift over to implementations and build a process around that. Pipelines, reports, tasks, like the end-to-end system that they're operating implementations on. Okay, now we've got all these accounts, and we gotta make sure they don't all leave. Then you're focusing
yeah.
on CS. Then you focus back on marketing to make more to
Mm,
increase the velocity of leads that are coming in. Then you
mhm.
have to scale out of sales. Like it's just problem to problem to problem to problem that you're just hopping around. And I find it
Yeah,
unique to find someone who can necessarily service all of those
totally agree.
individual functions. Like it's just a hard
Yeah.
problem to find. Instead, what we'll do is when you are scaling out something like this, it's not uncommon for us to work with a sales ops individual that's focusing
Mhm.
on one nuanced section of the business, right? They might be
Mhm.
focusing on we have a deal desk and we have to focus on our contracting flow and
Yeah.
making sure that there's good steps and approvals and yada yada. We'll help the
Yeah.
staff build that, support that person, but like typically they just want to continue to double down with us
That's
because
right.
it is hard to find what we do at a high level.
Did you you were very technically savvy on what I would call actual um advertising, not even marketing. So do you include that in your remit, or when you're talking about revenue operations, do you ever get to a company and be like, "Oh, you also have a lead generation problem and we're going to solve this side for you?"
Yeah, we got a bench of consultants that we'll bring in. So like one group that I worked with, their ads were lacking. I brought in a friend
Mm,
of mine who runs an ad focus consultancy. He came in and help fix that problem. In 3 months, we drove $1 million in revenue, just by pulling
yeah,
that guy
great.
off the bench. And so it's about like, in my opinion, I like to focus on a really narrow lane and just be really good at that, but then have a bench of people that you work
Yeah.
with, sales consultants, marketing consultants, people that focus on SEO, because like the reality is anyone who tells you they're good at everything is usually not good at everything.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because I love paid ads.
Mhm.
Like, I geek out on that stuff. It doesn't pay the bills for me like
Yeah,
sales operations has in the past.
yeah,
I saw that you were a HubSpot shop.
yeah.
Now, but you've mentioned Salesforce,
Mhm.
so I'm assuming that you don't turn business away if it is Salesforce, but do you have a preference? And then like what supports that preference for you?
We only work HubSpot. I think
Okay.
my dev team would kill me if I started to take on Salesforce contracts, but no, we get asked about Pipedrive, we get asked about Zoho, Salesforce, all that
Mm,
stuff all the time. I've kind of hitched my wagon to HubSpot.
yeah.
I mean, I got here kind of accidentally because it seemed like everyone in GT, like who was building go-to-market teams, was using HubSpot to a capacity.
Interesting.
Um, and so I found myself in this HubSpot world, and I like it because they're trying to be AI forward, and they're doing, I think, a good job. And they
Yes.
do a lot of the things that like when I've tried to duct tape pipe drive together, they do a lot of things out of
Mm,
the box that you have to like do crazy zaps for to connect this and da 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 da.
mm,
It's like no, it's just easy, and they do things in my opinion, the right way. So I've kind of
mm.
committed myself to that to
Yeah.
the eco.
I'm gonna be honest. I in 2012 I took a business analyst role. They hired a marketer. He was all about HubSpot. He got them into the CRM, the website integrations. And so I'm going to say off the jump that I think my opinion came from him. He was so janky the way he was doing things. And since then, I've just been like, no, HubSpot's for tiny little businesses that don't know what they're doing. But in the last 4 years, maybe it's been longer than that. I feel like they've gone through a crazy rebranding where like they just really are
Yeah.
positioned as a super strong leader in the market.
Yeah, they part of the more recent thing that I do that I've worked with a lot of accounts on is like their whole customer success and customer servicing side of
Mm,
things. So like they started with marketing and then they bolted on sales and sales was kind of light.
hmm
And then they went to like basically the Zendesk competitor like with service
mm,
or with support, and then they bolted on more recently like service
mm,
as a whole. So like building out for like B2B SaaS, building out your renewal motions, piping product usage data and sentiment data into customer health scoring, piping in like and like using that to be able to run churn playbooks, to be able to run upsell playbooks.
mm.
Like that area of the world, I feel like helped them go into kind of the next level because I always looked at HubSpot
Yeah.
as pre like top of funnel and early funnel, and then Salesforce is
Yes.
funnel, and now HubSpot's expanded there that I think has helped them a lot. Um,
Yeah. And even big orgs now I've seen using it, but like my brother sells HR SaaS solutions.
yeah,
He runs a personal instance of HubSpot, and I was trying to explain, like, I don't know, I just don't like the orange or something. And he's shooting me screenshots of his system. He's like, you mean you don't like this? You don't like this? It's like my opinion of the brand is so counter to what's actually in the market now that I really had to check myself and be like, dang, where did I miss the boat? I think Salesforce just made everything so complicated that you had to pay people a lot of money to like keep it working. And so it's in our best interest to be like, this is great. This is a great arrangement. What then? At what phase do you find these companies? Are they in no CRM and you're like, here, let me show you what HubSpot does, or are they already in HubSpot and they're looking for support on it? Like, where do you find yourself stepping in at what phase of a business, and then what are those first couple steps you're doing with them?
Yeah, funny question because most of our work has come from people with HubSpot, traditionally.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of people that are like, my data's a mess, or I don't know what I'm
Mm,
doing inside of here or whatever. And that's how our business has grown. And why I think like we've stayed so sticky with our clients. But I think like we're now getting into the ecosystem. Most of the people that are in my world get a lot of their business from the HubSpot ecosystem. We're just starting to build those relationships and build that out. So typically it was more about like, hey, we've kind of got this thing and we don't know what's going on and we don't know how it's working. And so it's all about like,
yeah.
slow down, breathe, let's map all this out and let's get you something that's working. Let's, build the process that you should be following here. But now we're getting a little bit more earlier. We need to migrate from this tool or we're in spreadsheets,
Mm.
whatever, and helping them kind of stage that and set all of that up.
What are they doing? You mentioned, I forgot the AI you named specifically, but you mentioned HubSpot was doing something with it. What are the clutch integrations you have seen, or even back to your comment about them leaning in like AI first? How are they stabbing at that market?
Yeah, I mean, they've done a lot with Breeze, and like their prospecting agent, where they can basically like pull in data and then be able to help people understand how to prioritize accounts. I think that stuff's been cool. They're adding in like we've done a lot of work with like Sybil and with attention, where we're able to pipe in all that unstructured data and put it into like
Mm,
into a medpic or a medic framework so that you can actually score
mm,
your deals in real time and understand like what are your actual good deals. HubSpot's doing a lot of they're going down that path. That's one of the things I think they're starting to work on. Those are some of the pieces that they're doing. They've kind of got a broader set. As far as integrations go, I mean, uh, I think that one that everyone is talking about right now is Claude. And
yes. Okay. There you go. Tell me about that. That's
yeah,
that's what you mentioned. I
yeah,
meant to I meant to book ear that.
yeah. People are in panic about Claude. Everyone wants to look. I think there's a lot of different perspectives on it. I think there's definitely some hype, but I think there's definitely some also on the other side, there's some good value with it. So some like practical things that we've been seeing people starting to do. I mean, first off, connecting the Claude connector into HubSpot allows you to pull out and extract some really interesting reporting and insights. Um,
Mm,
but then if you take it another step further, you can basically use Claude Code to effectively impersonate you in a HubSpot capacity. And I've started to see people
mm.
pull out email templates, build out sequences automatically using
Oh,
Claude.
like an agent. So like building
An
some kind of
agent,
pseudo agent.
an agent that's doing the RevOps work for you, which is super interesting. Another interesting play that I've been seeing people do is connecting a variety of their systems and using that to determine what your technical architecture and your infrastructure should look like. So there's
Mm,
kind of quite a bit of stuff that people are doing that people are doing with Claude. I'm not necessarily of the mind that like Claude's going to replace everything in RevOps. I think there's like a little bit of a doomsday sort of perspective. Like
yeah.
HubSpot's dead. We build our own CRM with Claude code, and I'm like, okay, but like, how does that?
Well, I never get that. I've heard people say, okay, we built a CPQ, we built a quoting tool in
Right.
Lovable. I've heard a lot of like, we're going to build our own CRM, but I don't think that, I feel like they're taking the word CRM at surface level and you're like, okay, you've got some automated system that like is taking contact information, but maybe in the tech stacks that I've seen now, it's just like CRM means more to me. Like, are you running your business on
Yeah,
this little thing that you stuck together with like gum?
exactly.
I wanted to ask you from a broad perspective, leading back into this, what these owners are doing. Like, how do you start the conversation? And here's the framing. Like, I am in a co-working space, and so I'm surrounded by
Mhm.
normally home service businesses, and I'm like the one corporate dude in here that like works with all these gigantic enterprise companies. But the stuff I hear them say about AI, I'm just like, what did you, this isn't, it reminds me of like a black and white Mars invasion show, and everyone's like saying all just the weirdest stuff about it. So when your owners are coming to you and they're like, Johnny, what are we doing with AI? We got to do it. Like, how do you first start that conversation with them? And then, like, maybe on the other side of that, what's actually useful? What's helping them make more money or save more money?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to like anything. I think AI is another tool that's in the tool belt. And ironically, like kind of going back to your HubSpot question, people are like, oh, HubSpot Salesforce. The system is this like, I like HubSpot because it makes things easier, but like the system
Yeah,
is the kind of afterthought. It comes down to mapping the process.
that's right.
What are the metrics? What are the things that we actually care about? And then what system fits best? And so when you start looking at AI, it's the same thing. What are the business cases that you care about? What do you want to accomplish?
Right.
How should we understand and like look at utilization of these different frameworks that are out there or these different tools that are out there? And so in many ways, it's like what a CTO has done for years, right? They look at the different technologies and apply the
Hmm.
technologies to business use cases and then figure out, I mean, in a founder CTO role, like what should the MVP look like, or in a more mature organization, a product team is telling the engineering team
Yeah.
to use, but it's kind of the confluence of like what is the tool, but really how does that tie to the business use case? So usually it comes down to like where's there pain in the org, right? Hey, we've got this crazy head count that we have. So like practical
Mm.
example, I have a carport company that I work with, and one of the challenges we've got a team that helps build and design 3D models. We send that out. One of the things that
Cool.
we're doing recently that you could use probably Claude for, we've built out Microsoft Power Automate that goes in, grabs all the specs, designs the
Mm.
actual the 3D model, pushes that into
Mm.
HubSpot, then we proof that and ship that out. And so like
That's
that's
cool.
something where we started to realize in order to scale this thing, this headcount is going to continue to multiply. So that was an
Yeah.
indicator for us that like that's something that you should practically look at, but I think it comes down to first like mapping out what we want to actually tackle first and foremost, and then figuring out how you apply that technology to it. And I think like for me, you look at this crazy AI centric landscape and like where things are going.
Hmm.
And to me, there's always going to be that need. That's not going anywhere. And so
Right.
like, for a lot of these orgs who are like, I think there's a lot of BS on LinkedIn of people like talking about the craziness that they're
For
doing
sure.
with AI, and it's kinda like, "Okay, relax a little bit," like, and that then inspires other people to be like, "Well, we need to do this," and then,
Yeah.
you start to see all the high level data on it, and people are panicked about, like, their AI deployments, and it's like, you need more of a pragmatic approach to understanding what are the
Yeah.
business use cases and what's the technology out there, and how do you actually build that and tie those pieces together, in my opinion.
Well, so then, so you as a guy that has to get it done,
Yeah.
so is it helping you save on headcount, time, and processes? Like,
Oh, yeah.
have you found uses for it? Okay.
Yeah, so, like, with,
I th
like, our business, the big challenge with it is, like, you get Slack requests, you get projects, you get all of these things that are going everywhere, right? And so what we've done practically is we've connected Claude in, pull all of the context, rich context for that,
Yeah.
and now we're pushing that into our task framework because that
Yeah.
reduces the amount of touches that has to happen on all of the tasks that we produce. Right now,
Yeah.
we're like it's like an insane amount of people that are reviewing each task, and now we're
Yeah.
compressing that further and further down so that we can scale more effectively.
Yeah, that's so good. We did that for the big AI company, on both their marketing ops side and the revenue ops side. They were intaking tasks through Slack, similar way. So we integrated into their project management system,
Yeah.
Linear, which is just a ticketing system, nothing special.
Mhm.
But as the task would come in, it would bounce to their proprietary enrichment, but there are other solutions out there besides their proprietary one. decide where it needs to go, add enrichment on it, give prompts for the next person who's going to read it, and then categorize it. And that was a big deal because it did. I guess my point is I am seeing where it's reducing workload, but on the flip side of it, I call this like the hamster wheel integrations, and I've suffered this for 20 years as an ops guy, where you're like, oh, there's a process that's automated, but then in one spot in the middle, there's like Chad running as fast as he can on a hamster wheel to do something
Yeah,
manually. And
yeah.
like the moment Chad stops doing that with the CSV, like the whole process is broke. I'm seeing a lot of that with owners when they come in and they're like, oh, we built this in Lovable and we found this process in Clay and Cloud's going to enhance this. And we got this API into ChatGPT. So like, one, do you see, I'm surrounded by SaaS bros. So like, I don't know, maybe your customers aren't actually doing that. Do you see people saying like, oh, I see this new capability, I've got to do it? And then two, like, are you seeing where they've been able to save money too? Like your use case is a pretty clear one, but are they saving money also?
Yeah, I've started to see people deploy some things effectively, but it's only like the good operators, in my opinion. The hard part is like similar to kind of what I said early on is like you need to know what not to do in these businesses.
Mm,
It's not like you're running
for
into a
sure.
situation where you're like, I have a shortage of things that I need to do in my day to day. It's like you have
Yeah.
you have too many things. And so on one state, people are like, well, then figure out ways to reduce your day to day. But the reality is these AI projects produce more work for people. And unless
I
you're
agree.
able to effectively deploy it, monitor it, optimize it,
Mm,
it's kind of a nightmare in some circumstances.
yeah.
But that's why I'm like, I just feel like it's gonna you're gonna have more and more pressure to have to build it and build it right and make sure that it's successfully deployed. But yeah, to answer
Yeah.
the question, we have started to see some of our clients using it effectively, but the ones that are growing are to some degree are yeah, they want to use it, but they also like have a pretty good thing going. And so they want to just focus
Yeah.
doubling down on what they're doing and then figuring out where AI can play a part. But it's not like halt business operations, do this AI
Yeah.
initiative, right? Because you can't.
Well,
You're
I saw that there was a very talented CFO who ran that PE portfolio company, and she used ChatGPT to like walk her through her data rails integration. And data rails is just an accounting software. It's like an MS database, some kind of data lake looking thing. My takeaway from that was, wow, that was cool. We didn't have to outsource this to a dev team somewhere, and we didn't lose time cycles on communicating. But then my other takeaway was like, you can't do that at scale. Like you just can't. You're not like lead IT and developer and CFO and like I'm going to do all the integrations. Like where does that end? And maybe for $120 million portco that's trying to sell itself in 6 months, like you're pressing through it. But I don't know a lot of CFOs that would or could or want to do that every day.
yeah, what happens when it breaks?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Yeah,
It's just like
screenshots in the chat PG again.
it's always something, and yeah. So that's kind of where I'm always a little slightly jaded, not 100%.
Yeah. What is something? What's something you think that these business owners are not thinking about yet? Or like if you could have your dream 10 prospects in a room, I don't mean like pitch yourself, but like what would you love to have a conversation with them about? And then where do you see problem solving for them that you love solving every day? If you're just like, listen, you guys got to hear this. We're going to change your whole business. And then this is going to be the outcome. Like, what does some motivational speech to them look like for you?
Old school. The
Mm,
thing that I believe that I always talk about is pipelines cures all and activities drive
yeah.
pipeline. Those are the two things that I'm always like that in
Did
almost
you say activities drop pipeline?
a drive pipeline.
Oh, drop. Okay. Yeah. So generating pipeline. Yeah.
Right. So
Pipe
it's
gen. Yeah.
like the things that I feel like have been like the secret sauce that have been so helpful
Mm,
over the years is like you drive all these leads, you spend all this money, but you convert them at such a low percentage.
yeah.
Pick up the phone and make phone calls.
100%.
Like I was a quota carrying rep early in my career. You can't
Good for you.
thank you. You can't determine the market. You can't determine
Yeah.
your conversion rates. You pick up the phone and you drive more activities. So when you're in a down market, make twice
Yeah.
the amount of phone calls. And so like I feel like that is so missed in this day and age that it drives me absolutely nuts. People get so focused on automation and AI and data.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but like turn your leads over.
Yeah, so I ran a large team of 23, but then even below that, I've had 5 to 12 normally. And one thing I like the least is when you have this high salaried ops person like in a room with a bunch of quota carrying sales reps
Mhm.
and he or she's getting like snarky or like armchair quarterback and I'm like, "Look, dude, you've never wondered how your quarter end's going to go or you've never felt that tinge of like something that you thought was a slam dunk is now dodging your calls,
Yeah.
and knowing that you're not going to hit your accelerator and you got to explain to your cousin, wife, or daughter why they're not going to gymnastics next
Yeah.
month. Uh, and also, I agree with you. The business is getting a product or solution to a market need,
Right.
and you're not in a real business until dollars are coming in from someone who doesn't know you.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's so good. Back on the technology, I guess. I have a video I did a long time ago where I was like, "Hey, here's how you would do a CRM in a spreadsheet."
Mm.
But thinking back on that, my point is not that like here's how to save $99 a month on HubSpot or 300 or 1,000. It was more like the core tenets of what you have to do are know people, know when you last talked to them, and then talk to them again. And it's like
Yeah.
that's business, getting that out the door. How do you think that, how has that translated for you then, knowing that you were a rep before? Like, clearly there's more empathy, but, what else do you tell the business owners? Or do you see that the guys at that level, the CEOs or owners or co-founders, are they already naturally good at sales, or do you have to educate them on this at all ever?
I mean, the thing that I always laugh at is like when we're goal setting. So like my on our upper tiers will like reverse engineer your KPIs that you should be focusing on,
Mm,
how you get there, the metrics that
mm,
how you get to where the revenue
that's good.
want to go. Um, and the laughable conversation that I have is like reps are like, I'm gonna do 20 phone calls a day. I'm like, 20 phone calls a day. You should do 20 phone calls
Yeah.
in like an hour. You need to be doing 2 phone
Yes.
calls per day, and if you have a great connect rate, awesome, then you can reduce that and you're setting your meet,
Yes.
but, like, slow down and actually pick up the phone, and that's helped me figure out, like, when I'll do trainings with teams, I'll, like, get on the phone and I'll look at like, a lot of this practical life experience is, like, a lot of the reason that
Mm,
I think what we do works. Because, like, I'll get on
mm,
the call and I'll be like, "Hey," this stupid example, but, like, "Reps, okay, you want more leads. Have you looked at inside your database last activity date, which shows the last time you
mhm,
engaged people and last
mhm,
engagement date, and found people that have engaged in the last 30 days and picked up the phone and called them, and sent them a
mm,
thoughtful, personalized message or phone call? If you
yeah.
haven't, we don't need more automation here. We need you to, like, do the thoughtful outreach." That's the stuff that enterprise sellers do, right? They're not just banging on
Mhm,
phone calls, they're thinking through and making things like they're finding the balance of personalization for the account
mm,
they want to be able to go after. And so I think that's been really helpful for me. And then like another kind of second part to this is like we'll get on calls and people get very feature oriented and they kind of
mm,
like this is where revenue leadership experience comes into play. It's like,
mhm.
"We wanna do this workflow that does da, da, da." I'm like, "Let's pull back, like, just tell me what you're
Yeah, yeah.
like, let's talk about it, and then we can tell you what we would recommend building to support all of these things, map it all out, but, like, you don't need to architect. We can do that piece,
Mhm.
and we know what's what." And so, that practical experience to me has, like, I think makes all the difference in these sort of engagements and how we function.
Yeah, I had a rep on he was pitching me and a business owner, the owner of this place that I'm working with. And, so because I've done sales ops so long, I was, like, coaching the owner through, like, what to say to just, like, "Look, just get this appointment set," and
Yeah.
he's a setter. This is an SDR, a setter at best. He finally got it set, but then he kept talking to him, and I was like, "Oh," and to be clear, I have a lot of sympathy and empathy, but, like, you just got the appointment, you just got it booked. You know the solutions architect or SE, sales engineer, whatever you want to call him, is going to meet us tomorrow at 9 a.m. I was like, everything you're doing right now, like risks blowing the deal. Like, just get us on Zoom
Yeah.
at 9 a.m. tomorrow, like you said. But what I understand is he's getting shot down like all damn day. And so here's like the
Yeah.
one.
Success, yeah, you're like, oh,
Right. So here's like, yeah. And now he's chatting with us and trying to make buddies, and I'm like, and he kept going into features and talking like KBs and knowledge, and I was like, oh, dude, just get us off a chat.
yeah.
It's like I feel like I'm a more patient prospect because I really love these guys and gals that do sales. But it sucks because it's hard, man. I've made the 100 calls a day in real estate. I even sold sailboats coming out of the military on 100% commission. Like sales is a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Um, Let me think. What? Tell me a little bit. I want to close out with like where people can find everything, but just in case someone didn't pick it up this far in, like who do you love to work with? And then what result do you love to see from them? And there's two sides to that in our industry. One side is like, oh, we geek out on the technology. We love seeing a clean running integration. And another side is like, we love seeing you go from 100 million to 120 million, and like we walked you through it the whole way. So who are you looking for? Who do you love working with? And then what are you banking on in December when you're closing out December and you're like, dang, these dozen people, like this XYZ happened for them.
Yeah. I mean, like the joy that we get at the end of the day is revenue. Like, because I feel like the technical build is all in support of revenue. Everything is in
Mm-hmm.
support of revenue.
100%.
Insights, the analytics, the goal setting, the technical build, all of that is helping clients drive revenue. And that's like, that will be the thing that I'm always focused on with these accounts. That's going to be the thing that I care about the most 10 times out of 10. Because that's really kind of the goal for a lot of these orgs. And so like that same like we've driven some pretty great results by having that sort of focus and just
Mm,
always like shifting prioritization around revenue. And the clients that I like to work with, I would say are like being tech forward and like to like get into the weeds. Like that's fun and that's helpful, but like the thing is just being open and like
mm,
are welcoming a thought partner are
mm.
and when I say that that's two ways. Like I want to be told I'm wrong. Like that's helpful for
Yeah.
me because I want to learn and I want to grow and I want to optimize what we're doing for you. And I think if people who can kind of leave the egos at the door and just say like
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do what we need to do to drive this thing forward, those are the people that like I adore working with because they're
Is there you don't have to go crazy, but is there like a success story that you love telling? Like the
yeah.
founder didn't expect this, and then we did that, and this happened.
We did, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we helped a client grow million bucks in revenue in 3 months. We helped
Awesome.
a carport company go from 0 to 15 million in 3 years. We
That's crazy. That's crazy numbers. 3 years.
Yeah, we helped a B2B SaaS company 5x their revenue in 3 years.
Mm,
We're a part of the journey. Obviously, we're not the lone
mm-hmm.
piece that's driving that. But we also we're helping a company right now that we love that's gonna probably 3x their revenue in a year. It's gonna be end up between 2 and 3, but they're, like, grinding on it, and they're looking good. So, those are some of the stories that I'm like, that makes me feel good at the end of the day. It's not, like, necessarily
Yeah.
we have some softer ones where we've grown leads by 300% in 6 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
but, like, it's revenue that I care about, and it's revenue that I think, like, that's how I mutually align with our accounts.
Is there an underlying thread that some people think that you might say is counterintuitive? Like when they start talking to you and then they close the deal and then they get to their success, is there something that really drove it that they didn't expect?
Um, phone calls. Like, another
Yeah, the
example
basics, the fundamentals.
Another example is we got a pest control company that we work with. We helped 10x their
Mm,
residential sales division in
mm,
2 years. And it's like, how do we do it? We built the system, put the leads in, and then we monitor the phone calls and the outcomes from
Mm,
that, and then we built the right KPIs to inform the lead gen strategy. Like if that's the motion that matters to you and you're getting all your leads from marketing, it's phone calls and turning over leads and making sure that you have enough leads for your callers. If it's on the
yeah,
other side and it's B2B SaaS, it's meetings, right? B2B SaaS runs on meetings, and
yeah,
meetings come from a confluence of
yeah,
bang,
booked appointments.
yeah, marketing. Like, can come from a number of different areas, but I think the thing that's really that I like, that I've gotten more into with mature organizations, is driving very specific accountability at the departmental level for their
Mm,
KPIs, and then helping at the end of the quarter be able to run retros where we say, you hit, you missed, you hit, you missed, and then
yeah.
figure out why they missed, and then figure out how we can actually improve things from there.
Yeah, that's actually an unpopular thing that I push back on a lot. I love being an ops guy,
Mhm.
and sometimes I'll be in a room with some so-called strategist, and they'll want me to do something that a sales leader really should be doing.
Yeah,
And again, I don't say it from a lazy way, but I'm like, your sales leaders need to be leaders. Like I'll operationalize any of this, but I can't pick the KPI for you. I can give you advice. I think that's definitely underrepresented in the market. Like a lot of people are scared to have accountability for you have 5 reps. You said they're all going to make 100K this quarter and you're pulling it at 75, like we can't just blame all the leads on that. Like what else happened as the leader along the way?
exactly. Because I feel like when you get to that point, when you miss target, it's a bad spot in any org, but it's
Yeah.
really a bad spot if you don't know why you missed, because then
Yes.
all problems are your problems, and that's where
Mhm.
panic starts setting in, people start getting laid off, like, all sorts of things happen, and so if you can reduce that, then you can actually grow, and you can figure out what's working and what's not, and that right there is kind of the secret to it all for me.
Yeah. Johnny, I love it, man. So you mentioned you had something you want to give the audience, and then tell them where they can find you, and then what you want to talk to them about, and then you can drop that the artifact or what it was, and then I'll hook that link up for you when we get the show description published.
Yeah, I've got a guide that people can look at if they're considering hiring in-house or if they're considering a third-party consultancy.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that's great.
And then you find me on LinkedIn. And if you ever want to chat, Johnny, Johnnny, last name Sengelmann, Sengelmann, and then I'll drop a link over here. Feel free to reach out if I can ever be helpful. Even if it's just a casual conversation, I welcome those.
Mm,
Always want to try and help founders out wherever I can.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Johnny, and everyone else. If you made it this far, I want you to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks. Take care.
Johnny.